Hey everybody, this is Rich Hanlin with Mortgage Ballers, and we have the incredible Brandee Stevens, someone I've known since around 2018 when she first walked in my office. I didn't know who she was, and she stood at my desk, and I'm thinking, who is this person that looks so angry? And she said, I want to make a change. I'm working for a direct lender. I hear this is a place to come to, and I'm thinking, okay, are you going to keep standing there? And then she came back and she kept coming back. And I thought, okay, she's going to push her way into here. It's on Brandee time. And it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me because I got to meet somebody that when I look in the mirror, I see a little bit of myself. And in a lot of ways, Brandee and I have grown through personal experiences, but I'm not going to tell her story. I'm going to let her tell what she wants to tell because we both have this thought process on the industry. We're old school. We've been doing this a long time, but Brandee Stevens is one of the top producers in the nation. Right now, she hangs her hat at Xpert Home Lending. I've known her from my last company, Answer Home Loans, where she was also a top producer, not only at that company, but in the nation. I couldn't be prouder today than to have her take time out of her busy schedule, because believe me, when you start to understand what she does in a day, you're going to realize when you get Brandee's time, you consider yourself lucky. Brandee, thank you for taking the time this morning, and we'd love to hear everything you have to say.
Well, thanks, Rich. It's really funny going back to that story, and thank you for taking me back to that time. I do remember standing in your office and feeling so intimidated, not because you were making me feel intimidated, just because the brokering world was intimidated, and I did not know what I was signing myself up for. So, but I'm glad that we all took the chance and the leap of faith, because it certainly has worked out for the better for myself and my clients. So I'm lucky to have stepped into your world. So I've been doing mortgage for a pretty long time, not as long as you. I've been doing it for over 20 years, and I've been in all, areas. I started out in brokering actually, and then went to banking, and I was in banking for about 12 years, and then took the leap over to mortgage banking. And when I realized in mortgage banking, it took me a long time, but what I realized was the rates were just astronomical, you know, and I am all focused about originating. I don't really think about all the backs, office stuff. But then I was like, man, there are so many people in the back office. How are these people getting paid? And hello through the rate. It took me a while to figure that out. But when I started losing deals, I remember January of 2018, I started losing deals right in January. I lost 4 right out the gate. And I'm like, what is going on? And every one of them told me that they were using a broker. And I'm like, what? Okay, I guess I got to figure this out real fast because I don't like to lose, right? And I always want to do the best thing for my client and serve them the best way I can. So naturally it worked out.
Well, I do remember that time because we had a lot of people making that switch from the direct lender world. In the Northern California area, there's a lot of direct lenders. And I remember being the redheaded stepchild, being a broker at the time, a new broker on the block. And, Dan Maybaum, my partner at the time, he had just come from the direct lending world. I had never really been a part of it for any extended period of time. And, I was amazed at the stories that I was being told at the time of how those companies run. And it is a business model. It just was very different than the broker world as far as how lean the broker world is. Yes, you got to have a type A personality and you do a lot on your own. But when you start to get used to doing that, you start to realize how much you've been paying for these reoccurring things on loans, these services. And you're probably overpaying for them, things that you can do. The average loan off. Now I get it. You produce a lot of loans, and I know you have a team. We could talk about that a little bit, but a person who does a couple loans a month and they're thinking that they can't do this on their own, I'm thinking you have more time in the world to do all these things and really learn it before it cranks up. Because I do remember the volume you were doing in 20 and 21. How many loans did you do in 20 and then 21?
In 20, I nearly hit, I don't remember exactly, like 241. In
Yep.
21, it was just a little bit below that, 228 or something like that.
I knew it
22,
was over 200.
I actually had a pretty great year in 22. I did make a couple changes in brokerages,
Sure.
so that was a little rough, but I still think I was above 150.
Yep.
And then last year took a little nosedive at 75.
But tell me, you've shared something with me about last year. How many escrows did you have fall out?
Oh my gosh. This is where I really know, like, we work so hard. I can't even describe to you the amount of emotion and, time spent, but we had 47 escrows fall out. And I'm not talking about 47 contracts came to me and it was like day three, they fell out. These were 47 escrows. 75% of them were at CTC, final approval, doc set title. The rest of them were just a few conditions left. And they all fell out due to property conditions. I had
Yeah.
a couple fall out due to different things, but most of them were property conditions. And one of those, seven of those, I guess I should say, of those escrows were all on the same property. So this poor property fell to escrow 11 times, and I was seven of those.
Wow.
It was bananas, but we finally did get it closed. But can you imagine? That was hard. That was so emotional. My poor processor, my team that makes bonuses off of closing loans, and to have 47 not close, it was pretty traumatic.
And one thing I like about the purchase world versus refinances is typically once you go into escrow, unless something happens with the property, that's a done deal. And
Exactly.
you're going to get paid. So 46, 47 of those transactions, that's more than most people do in a 2 to 3 year period of time. And you had it all happen in 1 year. Um, how did you
Yeah.
rebound from that mentally? Because I guarantee you, I have people that would have quit the industry over that kind of a fallout.
It was tough. I kept going on the Brokers Are Better page, and I kept looking to see what was going on. Like, is this only happening to me? Like, am I feeling this alone? In 2020 and 2021, we were making so much money that I would have just said, oh, you have a $3,000 repair? No problem. I'll give you some of my commission. Well, me, with the bleeding heart, I'm trying to give everybody the best rates in 2023 just to compete. So I'm not making barely $3,000 on a loan. So I didn't
Sure.
have anything to give. But I'll tell you, it was just, it was hard. I was trying to compare myself to others. I actually called you a couple times and you're
Hmm.
like, okay, Brandee, calm down. Let's see what other people are doing. And not always to compare myself to what other people are doing, but I just want to make sure that what I was doing wasn't wrong. And I was seeing escrows fall out. Maybe I had more because of my volume, but
Hmm.
mentally, you compare it to, like, when you look at your children in the eyes and you think, okay, I got to feed you, I got to keep us going, and I remember looking at my little kids going, okay, I got to do whatever it takes to make sure that you get fed. It's the same thing with your employees, with the people that help you do this business. I'm looking at them, on our weekly Zoom calls, and I go, I got to make this work because I have all these families that I have to work really hard for. And that's why, I mean, I keep going because of me. No one has to tell me to get up every morning, right?
Sure.
And start my day. But it was really hard. I can't even really describe to you the ups and downs that we went through last year.
I got to tell you that what you just touched on, that's the one thing that I never really fathomed how it would affect me. When you're just taking care of yourself, you can get through a lot of things. But as the company Expert Home Lending started growing, I was like, oh gosh, we're now at 448 loan originators. That means there's family and kids behind all those people. And when I see people struggling, I realize there's a family struggling. Um, there's a family struggling back there too. That means there's kids that are struggling. My heart goes out because, man, I grew up with nothing.
Yeah,
And
me
my
too.
mom worked her rear end off with a high school diploma. And that went into me. My mom wasn't lazy. She
Mm.
showed us how to work. I didn't really grow up with a dad. He was kind of out of the picture. But my mom was a great example. You're a great example, but I know what's going on behind the scenes. I know that because people call me Rich. What do I do? What do I do? And I get so caught up into the industry running a company. My strength is helping people find loans. That's where this is coming from. I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to save us. Maybe this is how I go out of the industry, is maybe finally putting my strengths together for what I think I was truly meant to do, which is to help loan originators get that one loan per month. Now, that's not a lot that we're talking, one loan per month. Brandee, what I need to know from you, and you don't have to tell us all your secrets, but I know for a fact that you don't wake up and you're not lazy. Take us through a day or a week or a thought process. How do you do what you do?
It's so funny. It's when I do what I do it because there's no like, I think, wow, what I do is so special. I don't go down that. I just do it, right? I think, okay, how am I going to survive? What is my month going to look like? What's my week going to look like? But not just that, sometimes I don't even think about, it's not really about me. My phone rings all day long. Some days, even in a month where I'm only closing 4 loans, I'll take 100 calls a day,
Wow.
because there are people, I'll sit there at night and go, okay, let me count, because it felt like I was on my phone all day. I couldn't even hang up. But so I'm typically getting up between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. Seems like as I'm getting older, I'm getting up a little bit later and later, but typically I'm up by 6, and I will, just take a little me time. My laptop's uh, up on my 2,400 page study Bible right now. So I have my
Okay.
study Bible. I have daily devotionals. I have, things. I'll sit here just in peace by myself before my phone starts ringing, because it takes a lot out of you, to keep fighting this fight, especially in this market.
Oh yeah.
So, sometime around 7:30, I'm starting to go through emails, really look through, who I got a call for the day. But really, I wish there was like some secret sauce I could tell you. I'm just literally on the phone every day, calling all of my realtor partners. What can I do? Looking through my phone book and my phone sometimes, going, okay, let me look at all the A's in my phone right now. And let me think about who I can call in my A's. So I try to typically call, 2 to 5 people in a day that I haven't talked to in a while. And so, there's really
Mhm.
no secret sauce. I guess it's just me. I get up at 6, and I don't usually end my day till 6, 7, 8. And I'll do what it takes. Like, if somebody calls me and they have a 509 credit score, I don't just say, okay, it's done. You know, I'm putting them on a plan. I'm trying to figure out what to help them with, giving them advice. Can you hear me, Rich?
I think your internet froze.
Okay, we're back.
There you are.
I have, yeah, I don't know what's happening. My internet's fine. Are we back? Okay.
I'll
Can you
edit
hear
that
me?
out, by the way.
Okay, that's what I thought. So typically I'm up, at 6 o'clock, and I work until about 8 o'clock, and I'll go through my phone occasionally. I'll say, okay, who haven't I talked to in a while, and I'll start to call. I try to make a point to call 2 to 5 people per day that I haven't talked to in a while. There's different methods to doing that. I've learned through the core that you take the alphabet and you try to touch everybody every 6 months, and
Hmm.
that. But I bleed for my clients. I bleed for my realtors. I'll do anything it takes. I'll call them when I know I haven't heard from them in about a week. I'll call them and say, what can I do to try to influence, and help you, for your day. Thank you, Brandee. I was just sitting here praying. I have a realtor that I work with right now that she'll tell me, I was just sitting here praying, what am I going to do today? How am I going to find a client? And it's a constant reminder to the realtors too that, especially the ones that have been in business for a really long time, they forget that they're awesome. Like, so a lot of times it's just a pep talk, a
Sure.
pep talk with the realtor to remind them that their clients want to hear from them too. I've worked with so many people that have done this business for more than 20 years that feel like, they have no value. So I can say definitely in 2023, it was a lot of like trying to help each other achieve, yet another escrow. So that's, throughout my day, that's typically what I do. And I should probably talk about what my team looks like because I don't want everyone to think I'm just over here, making phone calls all day and not actually originating loans. Um, so can we move into that real quick? What that looks like?
Tell us. It's all you.
Okay. So my day. So I have a processor. She's been with me for 4 years, and I have what I call a loan partner. I don't know that her official title, but she's my person that will help me keep moving my loan forward. So a
Hmm.
client calls me today, I take their application. I do it the old school way. I don't send them a link. That's just not who I am. Michael Radcliffe is really working with me to change my ways. But that's not who I am. I've been doing it this way all the time. So I'll take their application, I'll talk to them about their credit, talk to them about what type of loan, send them a link to upload their documents. And then sometimes I won't touch them again because I'll move them over to my loan partner who will then keep massaging it. It just depends. It depends on the client. If I feel like passing them off would be a demise for them, or it just really depends. And then from there, once we go into contract, it moves over to Julie, my processor.
I know that I've seen you do some things, and you're going to be humble about this, but I know that um, you share. You're not the only loan officer partner that some of your real estate agents have. Like, and that's great. I think real estate agents need
Yeah,
backups for different reasons. But I know sometimes, based on the type of person, maybe they speak Spanish or something like that. It might start one direction, or maybe it has a fallout. I find that you also are a trusted source for a lot of people to say, wait, before we kill that deal, can we have Brandee double check it for us?
I get so much fallout. It's
Yes.
sometimes it makes me mad. I'm like, why am I the fallout
Why am
person?
I the fallout person?
Yeah, but I get it. Like we all have our partners, and I never say, hey, when I'm meeting a new realtor, my intro is, hey, I'm not trying to be your number one, but I at least want to be, your backup plan if something were to happen. And so maybe I've set that up as my own fault, but through the years, you can't go in assuming you're going to get everyone's business right off the bat. So I always say, I'm not trying to be your number one. Um, but yeah, I'll take all of those hard loans on the hard loans that nobody wants to do. Like the 509 credit score. I actually closed that on an FHA, 10% down.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
was really darn proud of myself. You know, I'll do all the loans. I never say no. That's the beauty about brokering. If someone hasn't realized this yet, there's not just the UWMs of the world. There's so
Sure.
much out there. And that's what I love most about being a broker is the opportunity to help somebody that otherwise could not have been helped. And I never like to be the no person. I remember feeling like, sitting in front of somebody and
Pardon me.
feeling like, okay, well, what do I do next? Like, where do I go next? I always give them a direction. I always give them a plan. We
Hmm.
follow up with the person on the plan. So if somebody comes to me with bad credit and I really can't do something right now, we'll, give them a plan, follow up with them in a week to make sure that they're implementing that plan, follow up with them in 30 days to make sure they're still on pace. And I always say I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader because I truly believe if you want to be a homeowner, anybody can be a homeowner. I
Sure.
can't fix income, but I will tell. I just had this conversation with two people, yesterday. This is what you need to make to be able to get to where you want to go. You need to be able to make this much per hour. And okay, that's all I needed to know. I've talked to 3 other loan officers and they didn't tell me this. Thank you so much,
Sure.
for being honest. And sometimes people don't want to talk about people's income or credit or whatever, but I do travel down that road. Sometimes I spend more time than others definitely would spend, but I never want to be, it's not, For me, it's more than just a paycheck. It's never the money's the gravy, right? But
Sure.
the real we are changing people's lives. We are like when I think about how many people I've impacted and helped them into home ownership, and that I know would have just been kicked to the curb. It's unreal. And
Yeah.
when you're a loan officer, when you sign up to do this, you really should be doing this with your heart, not a money mindset, right? That it blew me away how much money I made in 2020. I thought, oh my God, this girl from Crescent City, California. I can't even believe that this happened, but I just always kept my head down. I kept my head down. I helped people. I have a lot of integrity and I give better rates sometimes just because I know it's going to be better for them.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many loans I've just done for free because it was the right thing to
Hmm.
do.
I agree.
I still remember a client that I helped last year. She was making $15.50 an hour. Her husband was disabled, and she just needed a little help up. I think the loan amount was like 125. You know, purchase price was like 130 something, but she needed like 2,800 bucks, and that was pretty much all I was going to make. I even paid for my broker fee. Like you just do whatever it takes to make sure that the person gets their keys. And you know what? I talked to her about 6 months later, and her husband had died. So
Oh my
here she's
goodness.
enjoying and it wasn't like he was going to die. Like it just all of a sudden one day died. And she was crying to me, you made, the best thing. My husband and we got to enjoy home ownership together. And man, we just cried together.
Wow.
I had another client last year. The thing is, all these clients run through my mind, and I think to myself, man, this we are really making an impact in people's lives through home ownership, right? God provides me the ability to do it, on a big, what I feel like is a big level. But I had another client last year who closed on her home, and I called her to say, hey, how, you got to make your first payments. It's due, and talking to her about that. And then she shared with me that she was just diagnosed with brain cancer, terminal, that
Oh
she
my
only had
goodness.
like a couple months to live. And she had 9 kids.
Holy cow.
So, I mean, she had them through foster care and adoption. She
Okay.
she adopted disabled children. She just was the most wonderful person. But there's different reasons why people go into home ownership, but most of it's safety and security, right? They want
Sure.
to do something for their family. So that's why I do it. That's why I wake up every day, because I know somebody needs me. I know somebody needs me to help them, and I'm going to do it.
I had a borrower back in like 2012. I remember I was driving from Roseville down to Sacramento. It could be a 30-minute drive or an hour drive based on traffic. I went down there and I was reinventing myself because I had lost everything as a refinance only broker
Yep.
prior to 2008. I never did purchases, so I was now reinventing myself, and it's hard to reinvent yourself. But I came across a guy, Bob Bates, of
Oh.
Answer Home Loans, and you know he was always telling me like, Rich, I made it right through that. It was slower, and I'm like, how? He's like, purchases. There's always purchases, and
Hmm.
it really struck a chord with me. And I'm like, I need to learn all the programs, the down payment assistance. I was doing CalHFA. These people were buying $115,000 homes, and they were still stretched. But I laugh. I wasn't making hardly any money because 2 points on that, 1.5 points. It wasn't a lot, especially on CalHFA. Um, but they were so grateful, right?
Yeah.
There was an avenue, 100% financing, plus closing costs. I mean, they were getting into homes for free almost. Um,
Yeah.
I see those people today, and those houses are worth 450, 500.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, I'm so glad that you fought with me, because these people would fight with me. Like, this is big, this is important. I'm like, oh, I know it's important, but homeownership changed their lives. Pardon me. their trajectory of their life. And some of them still have those original loans. They've never let go of them
Yeah.
because they can't afford to refi, right? Real estate
Yeah.
rich, cash poor. Welcome to California. Um, I want to change subjects for a second here because there's people that are going to hear this and go, oh yeah, woe is me, woe is me. Here's a million reasons. Last year, you told me about a lady. I didn't personally know her, the realtor. She had gone through 2008. And this is a high performing realtor, and it was hard on her. And then here we got back into another economy where everything shrunk on her again. And it was heartbreaking because you shared with me that she had took her life. And
Yeah. God.
I was thinking, my gosh, do we really get to that point? And obviously we do. And you're like, God, I wish I would have known that someone was going through that much pain and sorrow and embarrassment, whatever you want to call it. I went through it. I had weird thoughts because you feel worthless when you lose everything. You feel like you feel stupid. Maybe I should have taken the salary job and worked my way up through the state of California. That would have been more
Same.
protection for my family,
I think the same.
constant
Yeah.
benefits. But I had to eventually get out of my own way and stop. I know I'm right where I need to be. Let me say that again. I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in my life because I've tried to get out of this a few times and I've been led right back in. And once I stopped fighting it and stopped hitting all these different lanes, I said, this is my lane and I'm going to learn purchases. I'm great with people. I know loan systems. I'm great at underwriting. I've been an underwriter. I can help people fix their credit. My life changed for the better. It gave me a whole new outlook. It said, I need to, that's how Answer Home Loans came about. I had the name because I was answering tons of questions for people during that
Yeah.
downtime. And my son said, well, you already got the name, call it Answer. You're always answering your phone. You stay
Yeah.
after the baseball games and talk for an hour. But I remember it was the perfect name coming out of those times, and homeownership exploded. I mean,
Yeah.
coming out, it was like, and I feel like it's that right now. The rubber band has been stretched so far that I feel like we're getting on the verge of that next run.
Gosh, I
Is it
hope
going to
so.
happen tomorrow? I don't know, but there you go.
Oh man.
You and me both. We
Yeah.
could use some easier times. But the rubber band is stretched. Now, where it's going to go from there, but based on the conversations I'm having, the lack of business in the industry, and there is a reduction. There's also less people competing for the business. I know that a lot of people pulled out, both on the realtor side. Now we got this new NAR settlement coming. We were talking about this yesterday. We're waiting to see exactly. Everybody wants to know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You and I, we do a lot of borrowers. They're like, I don't have closing costs and money to pay a realtor. I'm concerned about that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure that the real estate industry, I don't think the real estate industry really understands if they don't figure it out, borrowers just don't have that money. And I'm talking all the way up the ladder. I have very few borrowers that just have tons and tons of equity that they can just do whatever they want. Most people of my people are blue collar. They live paycheck to paycheck. They get a little bit of equity. If they want to move up, they just don't have the extra to also pay somebody because they're usually paying off some debt that they've accumulated in order to make that jump. If you can't make the jump, you're sure as hell ain't good. No one wants to do a lateral movement, right? They want to move upward into that nicer house. But you told me yesterday, how are you going to deal with that? How's your education with your realtors? What are their fears? Are they voicing any of that to you?
Oh my gosh, so much. Well, I want to go back a little bit. You touched on
Okay.
this realtor that impacted me,
Oh, okay.
took her life. What I will say, I'm trying not to get emotional about this, but what I will say is that we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
We got, any loan officer out there that's feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my day? Nobody's calling me. My phone's not ringing. Well, if I'm getting 100 calls a day and I'm also probably making at least, 30, 40 calls a day, you need to get up and just call somebody. Somebody needs to hear your voice. Somebody needs you to talk to them as well. So call all the realtors that are sitting in your phone right now, because you just never know. I just wish, not that I would have maybe changed anything, but if I could have just heard her voice one more time. She is
Hmm.
a super big TikTok star, which I think is amazing because she was a little bit older than me. And I'm like, I can't even figure out TikTok yet. Um, but she was, the biggest producer in her area. And it just is so sad. I mean, there might have been other reasons, but I did hear one of the biggest reasons was for financial reasons that she took her
Sure.
life. And, you know, I cried for probably 2 weeks straight. My husband's like, okay, Brandee, enough is enough. But I just, I understand, how this business can take us to a place of mental, frustration and break. But what I just encourage everybody to do, I'm hoping that this message gets out to at least, a few people that says, okay, you know what, she's right. I have to take control. I need to call people because they do want to hear from me. If you've even only closed 5 loans in your lifetime, call those 5 people, at least every, once a quarter or twice a year or something like that. But call realtors, reach out to them because they do need to hear from you. If you're not doing that, I would say get out of the industry. I know that sounds
Sure.
mean, but if you're not waking up every day with a plan to just talk to somebody, not only it doesn't make them feel better, but it also makes you feel better too, because at least you're doing the activities, right?
I agree.
I wish I could get out to more events. There's so many events in everybody's area that you could go to, every single month, if not
Yep.
daily. There's, especially in our market here in the Sacramento market, there's almost a place you can go every day just to see people's faces. So, for those loan officers that are just not knowing what to do, call me. Give me a call. I'll be part of your day. Call me first. I'll say, okay, today this is what you're gonna do because all I can say is we are in this together. There's a lot of frustrations with a lot of people. One of the things too that I wanted to touch on really quick, I remember sitting with a client. When Rich Hanlin calls, I answer because you and I only talk maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And I'm like, if you're calling me, it must be really darn important. Um, and when you called me, I was sitting with a client and I said, hey, Rich, I don't have time to talk, but, I just wanted to, see what you're calling for. And you said, well, I have something big I want to tell you, but I'll just tell you really quick. You were number two. You're our number two loan officer at Xpert Home Loans. And I was like, wait a second. I instantly was upset, like saddened, not mad, but saddened. I was like, wait a second. If I was number two, I can't imagine how everybody else was feeling because
Hmm.
it was a grind, so much tears and, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? And, doubting myself. And I'm really 100% purchase. I've always been that way
Hmm.
since the beginning of my career. So I'm not a refinance person by any means. If I would have done that in 2020, I would have doubled my business. But I didn't even call all my past clients at all in 2020, unless they called me because I was so busy with purchase. So, I just feel like if I was number two, I can't imagine how everyone else was feeling. But again, it goes back to the finance thing, that we've discussed in the past.
Hmm.
You got to get your finances straight in this market. You got to cut out the things that, like vacations. Don't go out buying cars. Don't, go on this lavish, date nights. You can have fun on a date night in your backyard with a barbecue.
You know what
Um,
else you
you
can
know,
do, Brandy? You can go to Hawaii and take sack lunches.
you can actually. This is true. My husband and I, we went to Hawaii this last year and we set a budget of $100 a day. Do you know how
Wow.
painful that was for my husband? It was painful. He didn't like it, but I kept saying, we're in Hawaii, we're in Hawaii, we're in Hawaii. So get over it. But we did. We set a budget of $100 a day and, had a blast. You even called me while I was there. And I said,
Hmm.
yeah, but I'm embarrassed to tell you I'm in Hawaii right now because I can go on a good budget, but sometimes you just got to do it. You can't go on that $10,000 trip. You got to go on like a $2,000 or $3,000 trip.
Well, I know this. A lot of people don't realize because I remember you had planned a big trip maybe a couple years before that, and I think you had to cancel it if I remember right.
Oh, yeah.
Because it welcome to our industry.
Yeah.
sometimes you have to cancel those things and put them off because the industry can change so quickly. Either you're coming into business or you're coming out of business. Um, I I know that if I want to get busy, I just need to plan an expensive trip, and my phone starts ringing off the hook, and I'm like, okay. My wife goes, great. I mean,
Yeah.
she has been tolerant for 30 plus years, and it is not easy being married to someone in this industry, especially, I'd stay after. I've always been available. People,
Me
hey, can I
too.
ask you a question? Yeah, my kid's like, Dad's always talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Me
If I
too.
can answer, I'm going to try and answer.
I actually answered my phone. When I got married, I actually
Oh no.
worked all day. So I got married at 5 o'clock. Um, and I worked all day until 4:30. And this is no joke. I worked until 4:30 and then hurried up and got dressed, to get down the aisle at 5 o'clock. But I had people walking around me. I was sitting in the venue. I just watched it go up. I got there at like 10 o'clock in the morning, watched this whole venue develop, and
Wow.
everybody. And I saw my husband side eyeing me like, "What the heck are you doing? Get up and help!" And I was like, "No, people need me. I can't. I'm trying. I'm trying to get off. I'm trying. My phone won't quit ringing." And then literally 5 minutes before I walked down the aisle, I get a phone call from a client, new, it was a referral. So I'd never talked to her before. And I said, "Hey, well, can I give you a call back? I'm getting ready to walk down the aisle."
Oh my
And
goodness.
she's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And I even took a video. I hung up, I took a video and I said, "Hey, I just want you to know I wasn't lying." Here's me in my wedding dress about to walk down the aisle. So, it is, you got to do whatever it takes. I've never been off, even on vacation. My husband actually recently we went to South Padre, Texas, and he recently told me, "I don't want to go on vacation with you anymore." And I said,
I've heard
"Because
that.
you are not available to me." And I just said, "You know
Mm.
what? You're having a blast. We're here with friends. Go hang out with the friends. Leave me alone. I'll catch up with you. But you got to do whatever it takes." And so you're right. It is very hard being, you know, it's hard being a spouse, to somebody who works, or a significant other. My poor kids too. My gosh, my kids. That is
Yeah.
going to be what if somebody asks me, or people do ask me, what is going to be your regret,
Hmm.
when you're on your deathbed, and mine is just not giving my time to my where maybe it should have been given, right? But I can't. I have a bleeding heart for people. I want to help people. I want to serve people. I want to help them into home ownership, and that's just who I am. I can't be any different than who I am.
I I had to come to the conclusion. My wife told me, she goes, Rich, you know, it's okay to say that you're old school, and you still do things old school way because it
Yeah,
works for you. You're at the end of your working career. You're not 20 years old. You're 56, going on 57. You don't need to apologize for that. It
yeah,
you're If you're happy with what you're doing, you've had success. You don't owe anybody an apology. I've done the best I could. And that's one thing I've tried to tell my sons. Now that they're older, they're out on their own, but they're like, gosh, you told us never to get in the industry. You told us never to do this. And I said, well, it's not that I told you not to get into industry. I told you I can tell you where I made the mistakes. I should not have been showing houses on Christmas Day after you open presents. I should
yeah,
have said, let's wait till tomorrow, right? It's okay to, because even now we're on the East Coast and I have California people. So 7 o'clock California time, they're still very active. Well, it's 10 o'clock my time. I'm delirious by 10 o'clock and I have people calling me. I want to help. But the truth is, at 9 o'clock, I shut my phone off.
yeah.
Because nothing's going to, and people say, why do you do that? And the truth is,
Change.
because
Yeah,
underwriters, lenders, there's not, if you'll leave me a message, I'll use the 3 hours ahead of you in the morning to solve it, and I've gotten really good at that. But the truth is, if we're on the weekend, you can't move mountains on the weekend. You
no,
can't move mountains after hours because nobody's available to help you. Now, during working hours, if I need to call an underwriter and go on your behalf, hey, let's jump in and do it. But after hours, underwriters have gone home. I get realtor calls from people that want to move mountains after hours. I want to be accessible because, by the way, my loan officers and their realtors are my customers. The borrowers are their customers. And that's something I've learned over time, um, to take care of my people because they take care of those people. But those are just thoughts that I have. Uh-oh. We might have lost Brandee for a minute. I think she's having some internet issues. We'll try and edit that out. Give her a second to come back on. I don't even know if she heard that last part. What a great interview. Brandee's one of the best in the business. She's highly sought after. What she's not telling you, she gets calls all the time from recruiters. They'll pay her big dollars to come work for a direct lender, but she's done that before. And then she gets there and she doesn't make any money because she has to give so many concessions. She told me, let's see if she comes on and she remembers this. Are you back there?
Yep.
All right. It's time to get that better internet, girl.
Hey, I never have internet issues. Never, ever. I'm 100% all the time. It's so weird. Sorry about that. Okay.
I am not going to tell the company that I met you from, but one thing I was thinking about when you came into my company, Answer Home Loans, that day, and the person that came before you, I think it was Alicia or somebody like that. But
yep.
What we were hearing at the time were, hey, I'm giving so many concessions to get these deals done that by the time I'm done, I mean, she was telling me, hey, I'm lucky if I make 25 basis points because I'm giving so much to close deals. Yeah, I'm closing 30, 40 deals a month, but I'm not making any money. And I thought about that and I was like, gosh, and you had to ask for permission and you had to get that approved,
Yeah.
And how does that feel? I mean, you don't have to ask permission from anybody to do that.
Okay, being a broker, being in this world, you have all the autonomy to do the things that you need to do. I have never called you, Rich, and said, hey, can I do this? Or, hey, can I do that? I think what you need to understand if you're making a jump from retail to brokering is that you're in control of it all. Mm-hmm. I don't call you and say, hey, Rich, how do I put this deal together? Ever. I call my AEs. My AEs and who I work with and who I trust to help me get through to the other side. That's who I talk to. My account executives who bring the knowledge and I have to make sure that I feel like they care about me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who I work with. I have to feel like they are totally invested in making sure that my clients have a good experience. And I don't have to ask permission. And I actually just gave a client $4,000 last night because they need to close today and they don't have a way to close because a bunch of repairs need to be made. Now, that is not I don't need to do that. But if I don't do it, I don't know how else it's going to close. So, whatever. And, I've had Alicia actually tell me in the past, that you're not doing things, smart, or you're making less, bips than other people. And I just don't really care. I don't care. I care about my client. I care about how they feel. Nobody should be crying the day before they're supposed to get keys. Right. That is just, that is just experience. The saddest situation ever. And so, I like to be able to control my business the way I want to control it. Right. Now, other people like Michael Radcliffe, Matt Gouget, they run their business how they feel is right for them. Me taking applications by hand and talking to the borrower and learning about them a little bit, that's important to me. I don't want to just, send them a link and fill out this application and we'll send you a pre-approval. I don't want to be that. I want to be totally involved in their experience. I want to hear about the house that they chose. I want to know why they chose it. Just all those little things, right? That stuff matters. But yeah, having the autonomy to do the things I want to do with my commission the way I, believe it to be used. Whether it comes to me, I help the client with it, whatever. Yeah.
Well, one thing I know about you, I wanted people to really hear this part because this is where we're very similar. I figure if I can't do it, then nobody can do it because I leave no stone unturned. And I do know my AEs very well. They know this is and this takes time, but if I'm calling my AE, they're getting back to me because they know I'm calling for a reason. I don't
Yeah.
just call to say, well, I'm calling because I probably have a deal and I need some
Yeah.
clarification. Kelly Sweeten's really good at that over at the loan store. I
Amazing.
enjoy her.
Yep.
Knowledgeable. We
Yes.
have Alicia Budd here, one of the owners, which was our great
Yep.
AE that now she's one of my partners. But if it's UWM driven, a lot of people will bypass Hayden, unfortunately, and they go to her,
Unfortunately, I do the
which is
same thing.
fine. She still loves it. She likes the attention. Um,
Yeah.
but she's very good at it. And she knows how to go over, she knows how to get it done faster because she was the number one AE in the nation, right? Because she knows her
Exactly.
methodology and she understands UWM. We get outside UWM, and that's where sometimes I need to kick in. But then we get into these lenders I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And people will say, no, but on that day they had an eighth better rate. And I'm like, don't shop loan sifter, shop relationships because
Yeah.
it's a purchase. Refis do whatever you want. They already own the house. But when you have timelines, when someone hands me a deal and says it's a 10-day close, can you get it done? I got to go to my chosen sources because I need
Yeah.
everything to line up, and I'm on the line if I don't perform.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not going to do test cases on those types of loans. And for me, purchases, I sleep good at night. I lock them in early. We
Yeah.
all work, downhill. Nobody should be upset the day before they close with surprises.
Oh my
And usually, if
gosh.
there is, I will eat those.
Yeah.
If I get it wrong, I will do the deal for free. I have paid money to close deals.
Me too.
Um, my wife's like, "What in the world business are you?" And I'm like, "No, because I screwed up. It's the right thing to
Yeah.
do. I was wrong. They trusted me. It should
Yep.
not be their problem." And I can tell you right now, there's times I went on a credit card to make things right, and that's the hardest thing. But you know what? I have always attempted to do what's right, and
Me
I've been
too.
rewarded tenfold. I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that. And if you're not, hey, that's your thing, but I am.
1,000%. Yeah, that is my message too. Yeah, I've done everything. I've done everything that you wouldn't even fathom to do. I even there was a house with chipped paint all over it, and I even sent my son over there. I said, "Go buy some paint and paint the house." I mean, we did that last year, and my son shows
Dang
up
it,
and goes,
mom.
Are you kidding me right now?" And I said, "No, I'm not kidding. This is what it takes, to do this." And he's fully licensed as well. He's not hasn't quite
Yeah,
figured it out yet, but I'm like, this is what it takes. If you weren't doing it right now, I'd be doing it. So, because sometimes your partners or maybe the borrower or just can't see their way through it, and you got to be that one, leader to try to get everyone through to the other side. So, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes, and I can't even say within reason because I've done things that don't seem reasonable,
right.
but to me, knowing that that family got their keys, and that's what matters most.
I agree. It. I want my family to be happy, but I got to tell you, I get a lot of happiness out of because I feel like the world's everything's now as long as your team wins, as long as your thought process wins, as long as your organization wins, then the cost to win doesn't matter anymore. But I still think it does, and it does matter. I've never let anybody feel like they are a lone number. Most of my
No.
customers become personal, at least business friends.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that because I treat them the way I would want to be treated.
Hmm.
And it comes across real. It's not fake.
Right.
And I said it yesterday in a video, but my wife's like, "How do you remember their kids' names and all that stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just know it." Once I have a real conversation, if you're having real conversations, you will remember real important facts about those people. If you're just pushing numbers and trigger lead to an app to pass it on, I that's a different model. I've tried every model, but the model I do now is personal relationships. I stay in front of my people. Michael Radcliffe, that name keeps coming up. I'll give him a shout out. Rad
Yeah.
CRM. You
Right.
know, changing the industry with touch points, and he's listening to the LO saying, "What if you added this? What if you added that?" And he keeps making it better. And I'm like, "Dude, you're not going to be a loan officer here in the next 2 years. You're going to be a touch point person." But yet we'll put him on as an interview because he was the number one person by how many, was it
5.
five loans at Xpert last year out of 400. I want to let everybody know
Oh
Brandee was number
man.
2 out of 400. And
Yeah.
yeah, that day I called her. She's like, Rich, what are you doing? I'm with a customer. I think we're signing. I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, but if you're calling, what is it real quick? And I'm like, hey, I
Yeah.
just want to let you know. And she's like, and then I got 2 extra minutes of her time because I, I wanted her to know because I know that last year was tough.
Oh
It was
God.
tough on everybody. And we're going to hear some of those other conversations. People that did 25 loans and were in the top 25
Yeah.
of the company. That's how far it dropped off very quickly.
25 loans in the top 25. My gosh. When I hear that,
That's a
my
tough year.
heart just sinks. I mean, what was the difference? That's what I want to know. What was the difference? Like,
Yeah.
do they need, I mean, I'm not kidding you. Call me, when I say that. I don't want somebody to not know. I mean, okay. So 2 people, my son and another person that joined Xpert,
Mm-hmm.
both of them got licensed around the same time. My son did close one deal last year,
Sure.
but that other person has yet to close a deal since 2022.
Wow.
That makes me sad. That makes me sad. And you know what? This person has been all over social media in the biggest way possible. All the events, I pretty much said, go do this, go do this, go do this. He sat in my house with me for about 6 weeks and listened
Mm-hmm.
to all my conversations and, all from morning till night. And I finally said, you know what? You're not going to learn anything else out of these conversations I'm having. You just need to go out and meet people, right? You just
Sure.
need to, and he did it in a huge way, and yet still has not closed a deal. So I don't know, I wonder where that is. I can definitely say I'm a closer. I know that when I start talking to somebody, I'm going to close them, 90% of the time.
Sure.
I did lose a loan this week to an actual contract to a trigger lead this week, which
Wow.
really killed me. I don't know what the difference maker would have been, but at that point when that trigger lead, got them for whatever reason, they said something different than I said, and I don't think I could have fixed it. So I lose too. I don't want to sit here and say I don't, but I lose too. It's rare. It doesn't happen a lot, but I do lose. So,
I don't
um,
lose. What I find is I allow people to go because I say, you know what? I truly want you to get the best deal. And if they truly can do that,
yeah,
I would go do that too. But I'll tell you what, keep my phone number. And if something changes and they pull and they reverse it and they flip it, maybe you don't give them your business and you come on back. And I've had that
yeah,
happen many times. I don't chase people as soon as I've lost them. I don't fight. I give them my best. And if my best isn't good enough, hey, I wish you the best. And some of those people have come back to be some of my lifelong clients, to
yeah.
be honest.
I I just pulled up a text right now from a client that I've already closed with in the past. It's actually my realtor's son,
Wow.
and he said to me, "Hey, I'm looking at new construction. They're offering me 5.5% interest rate." And I said, "Hey, definitely take that if they're offering it. We can connect back on a refinance and rates go back down." I mean, I do the same exact thing. It's all about doing
Yeah.
the right thing because I got to be able to sleep at night. And you know what, Rich? God blesses me every single day. And I lost that one. And honestly, I got 2 more in contract the very next day. So I was beating myself up a little bit about it and prayed on it. But then I got 2 contracts the next day. So that was fine.
You keep alluding to something. I hear you just making little statements here and there, and it's okay. I don't shy away from it anymore. I My ability went out the door a long time ago, Brandee. I've shared this
Yeah.
with you. I can't do what I do every day. Never in my life did I think I would have 450 loan originators. Did I think that I would own 2 top 10 mortgage brokerages at the national level?
Right.
That's not Rich Hanlin. I've been through a lot of things to get to where I'm at, and I have the scars to show for it. But for
Yeah.
whatever reason, and doing the right things, um, I, I I don't sugarcoat. I think God has blessed my life because I just keep trying to bless others.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
if you're not and you ain't getting the results, maybe you ought to change what they say, move your eyes up 3 degrees and
Yeah.
maybe take a different approach because I got to that point in my life when I had to stop doing it my way. I wasn't happy. It wasn't working. My marriage was, my kids weren't, and I'm like, God, it's not supposed to be this hard, right? I feel like
Yeah.
I'm doing it now, but I was doing it Rich's way. And I finally had to do it. I had to surrender Rich's way and say, you know what? Maybe you have a different plan. Maybe it's not even loans, but so far it is. I'm like, I will follow that path as long as I feel your presence in front of me. If I don't, then get me out of it. If I've stayed too long, I'm ready. Or
Yeah.
if you need me to go 20 more years, as long as I feel it, I'll keep going the distance. And then I keep meeting people like you, and it refreshes me in the industry, and it reminds me why I'm here.
Yeah.
I love meeting people that are like minded, that work harder than me, 10 times harder, and are successful. And you're still, you've never put a chip on your shoulder. You've never gotten arrogant. Brandee, I don't even know if I've ever even heard you yell, to be honest with you, over the
Yeah.
years. And you've gotten in the middle of some tough ass loans and with
Yeah.
some really rude realtors. I know of a
Yeah.
recent one that I was on that, whenever people have somebody pass away in a family, you start getting into estate and trust issues. You can bring out some ugliness when you get attorneys involved, and they don't understand the loan side of it. They just want money for their clients, and you get families fighting over what appears to be a couple bucks in their pocket. It's not even life-changing information. But I watched you navigate that one and handle professionally a lot of different avenues. So I love watching that from a success standpoint.
I had so many people attacking me. There was, oh my gosh, errors in this situation. I couldn't tell them what was going on with my client. My client was also having emotional issues. Her son died right in the middle of the refinance that I was doing, and and he was unexpected. It just happened, out of the blue, and so I was trying to protect her. The errors were, it was just bananas. It was a 4 month long thing that should have taken 20-day refinance. I didn't know what I was entering into, but sometimes God puts you in a place that knows that you're going to be that foundation, that helps to get it through to the other side. And thank God I had Kelly Sweeten in my corner, and, the title company was a wreck. It was just all bananas. So yeah, we have to fight for our clients a lot of times, and do the right thing. And I will say something about working with the best AEs. Are we okay? So I will say something, working with the best AEs out there really quick. I had said, I'm going to talk about Kelly because I do have work with a bunch of great
Sure.
ones, but Kelly is coming to my mind. I One night I said, you know what, Kelly, thank you so much for everything you do. I just want to. I know I don't ever take enough time to say so thankful for our relationship. And she said, you know what, Brandee? And she's not very tenderhearted sometimes, sometimes I'm like, dang, does Kelly even like me? But she said, you know what, Brandee, you know why I love working with you? And I said, why? She said, because you fight for your clients. You fight and you fight and you don't give up. And I see you doing always the right thing. And of course, I'm a crier, so I'm instantly going into crying mode. And I said, wow, Kelly, thank you so much. And she goes, no, I'm not joking with you. I work with so many brokers that just give up. And I don't
Mhm.
understand that. I don't understand why you would give up. There's so many options. If a loan's turned down at one lender, you don't just stop there. You take it to other lenders. You figure it out. You figure out what the problem is, and you go after it. I was told seven times no for a veteran that had a rental lapse of in payment. For You have to prove that you have been paying, or they've been paying rent for 12 or 24 months or whatever. And they had a weird situation happen. Their landlord died, and
Ouch.
yeah, their landlord died, and they made their payments through Zillow. Well, you set the parameters when you use Zillow, and the rent was supposed to stop in January. Well, they called me in February and said, oh my gosh, I got to buy a house because my landlord died and I don't know what to do. Well, it never dawned on me that if the landlord died, well, you're still paying rent. Like, I didn't think about that, right? At the time. Well, we submitted our loan to, I think it was Kelly, actually, got turned down. because we couldn't prove the rents received. And I shopped that around 7 different lenders. I finally got Carrington to pick it up, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to close this." But had I not done that, had I called two or three and got no's, and just said, "Okay, well, I guess that's the answer." That's not the answer. When you're in the broker space, you call every single lender that you can. That's, and you make it happen. So that's why I love this.
I agree. I know that I used to sell loans in bulk, and they would take things in bulk and throw a couple, 5, 6, 7, 10 loans when you're buying 100 that
Yeah.
maybe weren't within the box they wanted, but they're like, if you'll sell us these 95, we'll take these five.
Yeah.
And so, they were those tougher ones, things that were maybe an exception was made. A little bit scarier in today's thing because you could have hundreds, you could have millions and millions of dollars sitting there and get stuck with them on your warehouse line, which had that before. But now we do it one at a time. We already have commitments. I like this way better from a broker standpoint when you're responsible for it. But I understand how they do it and why they do it. But don't take no for an answer until you've made a few calls, because you don't know what somebody's appetite is in the month of what they're at. I've seen lenders do something and then they turn around and they will take a couple payments and they will season that loan to make it sellable.
Right.
And there's things that they can do. They don't do it as much anymore. There's not a true secondary market for mortgages. But if people understood the loan store, UWM, how many loans they probably have under their own servicing that they couldn't sell to Fannie Freddie,
Right.
Ginnie, they would be astounded because brokers just throw stuff at the wall sometimes and say, oh, and they walk away. Hey, I funded it. It must be a good deal. And it's like, God, that was a tough deal. I get to see the post follow up on some of these deals with audits and things like that, possible buybacks. And I'm amazed. I will say this, Brandee, in the last 2 years, I've witnessed more fraud, most of it occupancy fraud on borrowers' parts, trying to get the better rate on a rental or a second home than I have in the previous 32 years. It's rampant right now because people want that lower rate. That 2% hit is huge for people. And they just I don't think they care because it's not really, I believe it's considered a federal issue, but nobody really gets turned in, right? So they just move on. I had a borrower that tried to do it with us. We caught them. Turned out they went to Summit. They just switched, right? They went from the broker world to a direct lender world, got it done. Hey, more power to them. But thank God we didn't do it because the lenders are following up. So
Yeah.
I think that's why I need loan officers to be smarter. Ask those extra questions when you have something weird. They're retaining, or the best one right now, I think that a lot of people are getting raises or can get raises to become eligible, but sometimes the timing of those raises right before you get ready to go into a house, it's going to be scrutinized, right?
Yeah.
Getting 2 raises in the first 4 months of 2024 to be able to buy a house, and then you got a bigger house and you got another raise, just enough to buy that house. I always tell people, stop getting in your own way, because there's a lot of ways. By the way, we don't need to use your spouse. How about we just use your income and we wipe out all that bad credit? How about we do this? How about we do that? And that's where I think the years of experience starts to come in with some loan officers that, they don't shy away from deals because they've done those extra things. They have pushed the limits. Hey, I'd love to have easy deals. None of my deals are, my investors have 20 properties. Those are not easy deals. They take
No.
forever to do those,
Yeah.
but I do them.
But do the hard stuff. I think that's the overall message from both of us is do the hard loans. Learn. You learn a lot, man. I learn almost every dang loan I'm doing right now. And I will say, in a positive note, I am ahead this year from where I was last year. I don't have
Good.
it nailed down exactly, but 2024 is better, even though I know there's still a lot of pain out there.
Yeah.
And I am taking the opportunity, going back to making your life, right. My credit cards were more extended than ever I've ever experienced. Uh, And but I have them every credit card except one paid off. So I probably will have this last one paid off next month. You know, and when the market changes, I would encourage everybody to not, it's not just building a nest egg. I'll tell you, the one thing that really saved my butt in 2023, because I probably would have had to file bankruptcy or do something, you know, to to figure it out. But the one thing that saved me was my rental properties. I have such great cash flow on my rental properties, and in 2020 and 2021, all the money I was making, I was reinvesting back into property.
Great job.
And that was the one thing. Thank God I did that, because a prior Brandee, you know, would have spent it all on vacations, you know,
I
but I
agree.
listened. I took you know, notes from you. I was like, wow, Rich has all these properties. Let me figure that out. How do I do that?
We do it for people
So,
all day, but we don't do it for ourselves. I've never understood that.
yeah, I mean, I bought quite a few properties, and thank God for that, because, you know, that got me through for sure.
I agree, and we'll bust off into some other things because people are like, "What do you mean, Rich? You don't pay taxes? Like, how is that possible?" And I'm like, "Well, let me explain that through properties and Airbnbs and all that stuff.
Yep.
Um, you know, legally how to do it. I'm not doing anything weird,
Right.
but I'd rather put it into my family's legacy than just pay the IRS. So we can talk about that more. But number one, I'm proud of you for doing that because I love it when I hear that my loan officers are doing something for their future because one day you're going to wake up and you're not going to be able to do this anymore. Hey,
Yeah.
you want to work till 80? That's great. But the odds are you
No.
might tire out. We
Yeah,
have to have an exit plan, right? And I
for
do like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Brandee,
Yeah.
if I've had you for an hour and 10 minutes, if you could, number one, you said something, hey, give you a call if someone has a questions. Is that
I'm
being real or are
actually
you just saying that?
1,000% real, 1,000% real. You know, and I do get up early. So if there's any East Coasters out there
East
that just want to
Coasters.
know where to start their day, but you know, actually, my friend Michelle Malota, who I helped get in the business a couple years
Yep.
back,
You know, Michelle.
she uh, her broker called her and said, "Hey, you know, I have a loan officer struggling, and they want to know what to do." And her exact response was, "Get up, you know, don't go golfing. Get up, you know, without all the cuss words, you know, basically get your ass in gear and, you know, work, you know, listen to every video that you can from UWM. And I mean, if you can't figure it out from UWM, I mean, they give you so many tools and so many opportunities to learn, you know, and how to make yourself better. If you can't figure it out through there, you know, that's where she said she really took off, is to listen to all the things that Matt Ishbia, you know, has to say about, you know, getting better every day and all that stuff. So, yeah, but I am serious. Call
Well,
me.
to her
But, you
honor
know,
and respect for her, yeah. One thing about
what?
Michelle Malota, one thing that you have, you're not a Michelle's a she's not afraid to talk to people. She's not afraid to reach out
Right.
and she's not afraid to
No,
start a conversation.
right.
You have to touch people in order to start something. If you're waiting for them to come to you, it just doesn't work that way.
Does not
And
work.
if you heard what Brandee said, she gets on the phone, she has a thought process is, you know, 5 people, 10 people, 100 calls over the course of a day she's taking. If you're not doing that in this point, this economy, my question is, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're working just as hard not to do that. I'm afraid. I'm nervous. I used to call leads. You call 100 leads and get hung up on 99 times, effed out, and all this stuff, and you get a whole new sense for it real quick. It's not personal, right?
Right.
And you got to stop taking it personal because I've called 100 leads, said, man, I'm 0 for 100. The next 6 I got loans on.
Yeah.
And so the averages kicked in and I believed in those averages. I knew what my averages were. I knew how many leads, how many calls on average. So I just got to keep calling. I've
Yeah.
got
And
enough business, yeah, to keep
yeah.
going. Yeah.
And I don't take it down to a science. I know that there's, you know, people out there that will go, okay, if I call 10 people and I'm going to get 20%. No, I don't do that. I literally just
Okay.
call as many people as I humanly can, in a day or talk to as many people. But, sitting here, I got text messages from realtors already. It's 8:30 my time. And,
And we're
I
up
mean,
early on your side.
and yeah, we're up early. But if I'm not hearing from people, I get nervous. I have a
Yeah.
scarcity mindset. I've read
Mhm.
so many books on how to not have a scarcity mindset, but I just do. I grew up with very poor parents,
Mhm.
and, I had a very poor, bringing up. And, I had to I actually took a video. This is really funny. I was up north in Crescent City for an event, and I decided, I'm going to drive through my cousin's old trailer park. Okay, these
Oof.
are all single wide trailers, 1970s. It's bananas, and I decided I haven't looked at the old trailer in quite a few years. I drive past the trailer park many times a year, but I thought I'm going to actually turn in this time, and I went by Space 61 and took a video. I learned how to ride my first bike through that trailer park over those speed bumps, and I took a video for my cousin, and I sent it to her, and I said, "Man, we have really come so far from this trailer park. It is just bananas."
Yeah.
But I don't take that for granted. Like, I am not like so far removed from that trailer park that I just, can't even, fathom that lifestyle, because really sometimes I feel a paycheck away, but I think it's just
One hardship away.
understanding, yeah, understanding where you came from, and not taking it for granted, because, man, I'll tell you, I have fought and fought and fought, and I do have that scarcity mindset. So when I'm sitting here alone and my phone hasn't rang for maybe 30 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I got to call somebody because no one's calling me. And you just go back
Right.
to calling your realtor relationships, and going out there. And the one thing I will say is, if you're not doing activities to couple with that, I don't have to necessarily do the activities right now, but I will. I remember going and to all the open houses. I went to 26 open houses on one Saturday alone. I
Wow.
mapped them all out. I went out, and some of my best, Margaret Melville,
Mhm.
I met at an open house. And I've met a lot of great realtors through there, and started relationships with them, because I went in there and said, "Hey, my name is Brandee Stevens. I'm not trying to be your number one, but if you need me, I'll be here." And I think people respect that.
I think they do. Brandee, you have to nail you down for an hour and 10, 15 minutes with your
No.
time schedule. You are one of the best of the best. You're number two for Expert Home Lending, a top 10 national mortgage brokerage for 2023. I'm honored the fact that you even associate and partner with Expert Home Lending. But on a personal level, I like to, you know, I call you a friend. Um, we have a lot of the same background. We have a lot of the same drive. And when I need picked up, Amanda Rawls, a Brandee Stevens, I know who to call because I can get reality checked real quick.
Yeah.
Because sometimes even the most positive people get pushed down, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't know. And that's my challenge for everybody. Brandee has said it multiple times. She doesn't even like to go 30 minutes without a contact.
Yeah.
You know, you need to step out and you need to start. Maybe you need to start by just bringing positivity to somebody else with no expectation in return other than my people in my life. I don't sell them anything. I don't call them asking them, can I give them a loan? I call and I genuinely say, how's everything going? Do you have any
Yes.
questions? I know it's tough out there. A lot of people, and you're on my mind, and they like that I don't sell them. It's a genuine conversation. And guess what? Those touches eventually turn into questions turn into loans. Brandee, what does the rest of 2024 look like for you? What are you hoping for with what are you planning for?
Well, um, again, just getting myself financially straight,
Okay.
along with the credit cards. I paid off my cars this year. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have some, business loan debt out there that I took out to save my company, save my employees, which ultimately didn't work out so well. But just trying to get right with those, with financially is my biggest thing for 2024 that I'm focused on.
Okay.
I try to think about buying more houses and all these other things too. And I just go back to, man, nobody can bail me out except for me.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
learned that the hard way in 2023. Nobody can bail me out because I am the biggest, income earner in my family, and nobody can save me. So I don't want to have to do things that, are so bananas, like go get another job or, do something like that. That's just not the best time use of my time because I want to
Hmm.
focus on my clients and serve them well. So just financially getting it right the rest of the year. That's what I'm focused on. I wish I could say something more, but really it's just I want to be totally financially free except for my mortgages. I'm not going to go out and buy a new car or do anything like that. I'm happy driving my 2015 paid off car, and you know, just keep it really basic and just be there and grow. And I keep talking about Michael Radcliffe. He just came into my life a couple months ago, and I am trying to take a page out of the number one guy. I'm trying to
Sure.
learn like
You're
how he
learning as well. Yeah.
right. And I learn every single day. And, I'm like, okay, how did he do five more loans than me? And then the funny part of me is like, I did 47 loans that fell out. Okay. If I would have closed five more of those, but I don't want to take it away from all the awesomeness that he has done. But I definitely am trying to learn from those millennials from I watch Matt Gouget. There's other people that I watch and I think, man, I
Mhm.
want to aspire to grow into the marketing things that they do. And so, just working on my own process because the better I get my processes down in 2024, when the tide changes, I'm going to be on fire. And I'm just trying to have one more good solid run. I know I
we,
can't do this forever,
we all
you
say it.
know,
One more run.
one more good solid run, and with that run I want to be financially right and have a good chunk of money in savings so I can buy a bunch more rentals, and then once I get to a place where I'm feeling confident in my monthly earnings, then it's a wrap, you know.
I'm 100% with you. It's okay to have a second plan to your life. Brandee, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time. It's always good to talk to you. I think I've talked to you more just now than I did in the last year because our
It's
conversations are so
true.
quick and to the point.
It's true.
But for you to spend this much time, I know your phone's going off, mine's going off because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you. I want to tell you just personally how proud I am of you, how honored I am that I get to watch you go through the struggles that you do because I get to also see what comes out the other side when you overcome those struggles. And people think that it's all easy and it's not. And you are a testimony to that. The struggles are the same all the way down for every loan originator, but it's how you get up and it's how you get knocked down and keep getting up. And
Yeah.
you do not get knocked down for very long. You are an
No.
incredibly intelligent person. And I love that your heart is to help everybody. I see the loans that you're doing. I'm thinking, my gosh, she just did that loan for free, but I know that you
Yeah.
changed somebody's life. You do
Yeah.
change lives, and because of that, your life will be changed. So I want to say thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for your friendship, and thank you for being the best of the best.
Well, I just have to leave this with you, Rich. I don't want to do this with anybody else. I get emotional about it. People try to sway me every month. Come over here, it's better, it's this and it's that. But you've always created a platform for me to do the things I've always loved doing, which is just to have that freedom to do the right thing all the time for my clients. And you as a person, like sometimes you'll shoot me this text and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had just been praying right before that. And then I'm like, God is speaking through Rich right now because I needed to hear this. And I just I've been in some of the funniest situations where all of a sudden I'll get this random text from you that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I needed to hear this. And I'll stand there and sob for a few more minutes. And I'm like, okay, God, thank you for this message that I needed to receive. But not just that, I really respect, everything you've done in this business too. And I love that you don't try to be somebody different. Like that's what I love most, that you keep it real, you keep it raw. And I need that. I always have
Yeah.
to be inspired by who I'm working with. And I've said that lots of times to other people. Why do you work with Rich Hanlin? Like, what is he doing different? I said he inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing, and seen all of his struggles, and it's gotten me to keep persevering because I know if Rich can do it, I can do it.
Wow. Thank you very much. Cause, we're all real humble when it comes to our own lifestyles and our own lives,
Yeah.
because we live it, right? We go through it, but hearing somebody else acknowledge what sometimes I feel too, and where I've been, thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the easiest thing to say is thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody, this is Brandee Stevens, best of the best, Xpert Home Lending. If you have a question, take her up on it. If you're struggling, if you want to figure out what you're maybe missing, if you want a real conversation, you ain't going to get much more real than this right here. So she's giving you the green light. Take advantage of it.
Yep.
Thank you, Brandee. I appreciate you today, and I wish you an incredible 2024.
Thanks, Rich.